So far, not too much action. Here's what I'll give you. I'll give you guys 2 college basketball, 2 NBA, and then I'll read off some player props too that just came in. Because I know a lot of people like to bet the props. Let's go to college basketball first. 883 USC plus the 14.5. 892 under 155.5. Utah State, Fresno State. The college basketball has been on fire. Anyone that's been coming in on WagerTalk Today every morning and getting the steam report, if you've been leaning that way and picked off a couple of those plays, you've probably done really well. I know I only used 4 of them yesterday. All 4 of them won. Not saying they're going to be 100%, but right now it seems to be dialed in the college basketball. In the NBA, 505 over 242 Milwaukee, Atlanta, and 509 over 225 Philadelphia, Detroit. In player props, here's what I got. J.R. Kelly. What is that? Oh, under 13.5 points. That's the Pistons and the Sixers. Same game, Pistons and the Sixers. Under 27.5, up to minus 130. Tyrese Maxey points. Tyrese Maxey total points, under 27.5, minus 130. And then Bucks Atlanta. What is over 8.5? Crazy. KREJCY. So, I don't even watch NBA. I don't even know how to even pronounce his name, but those are some of the props that just came in. You guys probably know better than me. Like I said, I haven't watched an NBA game in I don't know how long ago.
And we've got St. John's and UConn. And, knee-jerk reaction to this one, guys, is you see UConn, defending national champs, at home on a Friday night, laying a small number. You want to jump on UConn. This is a Friday night TV game. It's a statement game, you would think, for UConn. But this UConn team is not the same dominant team that we've seen in the past 2 seasons. They had to reload a lot of players after last year's national championship team. And note that I used the word reload. There's never rebuild with these high-powered programs. It's just reloading. And sometimes it takes the chemistry and everything to fit the pieces together before these teams gel. Now, I will say Connecticut is playing better. They are, this is what you want to see with the team starting to peak as you get into February and then carry that momentum into March. So they should be in good shape come March. But I'm looking at a St. John's team, and Rick Pitino in his second year at St. John's has done a marvelous job with this team. They have 6 core players that they use a 6-man rotation that take up an average of 26 to 31 minutes per game. They have balanced scoring. They've got all 6 guys score in this with this team. What I also like about this team, though, is the experience. Of those 6 players that I mentioned, 3 of them are seniors. 2 of them are senior guards. And that's something that you can't overlook because they're the quarterback of the offense. And whenever you have experienced guard play, they're not going to be rattled by good defensive teams or going into hostile environments. And speaking of good defensive teams, St. John's has been incredible. This team has held 8 of its last 10 opponents to 68 points or less. And you know me, I always tell you, if I can get the better defense getting points, I'm going to be there. So I'm going to line up on St. John's plus the 3.5. We've seen the line bounce around a little bit this morning, taking them for the full game. But I'm going to give you a little asterisk, Steve, here. If you want to split the bet up and take a little wager on first half, guess what? UConn this year at home, first half, 0-10 against the spread. So you want to put a little first half and full game there with St. John's. And a couple things to note as we look at NBA games this week. This is one of the most tricky weeks of the NBA because, the trade deadline, teams that, are rumored to make trades, then make trades, don't make trades. You never know how the teams are going to react. And once they do make the trades, sometimes it takes a few games for everybody to realize their new roles with the team. So have a little bit of caution this weekend for the next couple games with the NBA. Now, with that said, we've got a situation tonight. Phoenix is returning home off of a road trip. Steve, I don't like teams when they come off a road trip, that first game back at home, but we got a couple different things in play in this game tonight. First off, as you said, Phoenix got embarrassed in their last game at Oklahoma City. They lost 140 to 109. Just a horrible performance by them. No defense at all for them, and that's something we see a lot of anymore in the NBA with these high-scoring games. But the problem was there was a lot of distractions for Phoenix. The talk was the trades, Bradley Beal, Kevin Durant, mainly Kevin Durant. Was he going? Was he staying? What was going to happen? And that's all distractions to teams. And I think that was part of the problem in that Oklahoma City game the other night. So now they return home with egg on their face from that game. So I expect them to play better off of that loss. And speaking of the trade deadline, well, there was a trade in place with Phoenix. We had a 3-team deal supposedly that was sending Kevin Durant back to the Warriors, and through the 3-team trade would have ended up with Jimmy Butler in Phoenix. Now, Butler had expressed that's exactly where he wanted to land, and it looked like it was going to be a done deal until what? Well, Kevin Durant said, no, thank you. I don't want to go back to the Warriors, and kind of nixed that trade. So now there's some pressure on Kevin Durant. I think he's got to lead by example because this team could have had a different look, could have had a player that wanted to be there, and he's the guy that stopped it. So I look for him to have a big effort tonight. I also look for them to have a good effort defensively after that embarrassment of giving up 140 points. And, oh, by the way, anytime they've given up 135 or more points, they've done it 6 times since 2023. They're 5-1 against the spread in the next game. And we're catching a Utah team that is coming off maybe a little fat and sassy feeling. They beat Golden State in their last game, 131-128 on the road. So they might be coming in here feeling a little too good about themselves. And just like I said, with Phoenix having distractions, Golden State had to have a ton of distractions too, because every free agent was rumored to go to Golden State in the last week. And so they didn't know what was going to happen there. And I think Utah caught them at the right time. I'll take Phoenix tonight and lay the points. Well, Steve, I'm looking at total yardage prop, and just want to tell the listeners, and I'm sure everybody else has said the same thing to your viewers this week. If you're looking to bet over props, bet them early. If you're looking to bet under props, bet them on game day. That's when you're going to get the best value. And the prop I'm going to tell you about is under 362.5 total yards for the Kansas City Chiefs. Now, your prop bets should be part of your handicap, what you think is going to happen in the game. And here's the key points that make me look at this to go under the total yardage. Philadelphia, last 16 games, they've held 15 of those 16 opponents to 23 points or less. Philadelphia, in its 3 playoff games, has rushed the football for 683 yards. We know that's what they do with Barkley. They're averaging 6.5 yards per carry during the playoffs. Kansas City, although they've got a very good defense, down the stretch, last 4 games, their run defense has been very suspect. Now, we can throw one of those 4 games out because it was against Denver, the final game of the season. And if you remember, they sat everybody. But this is still a team that has allowed 4.85 yards per rush over the last 4 games. And teams are running the football against them an average of 34 rushing attempts a game. Why do I say all those are pertinent things for this under? Because both offenses are efficient, but they don't score generally in quick fashion, especially against good defenses like we have here. I think both of these teams are going to move the football, but it's going to be long, methodical drives, which chew up clock, which narrow the number of possessions for each team. With that said, I think Philadelphia will hold the ball longer because of their running offense and the way they utilize the tight ends. And we know Kansas City has trouble stopping tight ends. So what's that mean? You're going to keep the clock moving. Whether you're running the football or you're throwing the football, it's going to be a completion, one of those high percentage plays, maybe get, those chunk yards, 7 to 10 yards, keep the chains moving. I think this will be a lower scoring game, which is also going to result in the offense being lower and Mahomes being the most popular player on the planet. That's why I'm looking to take this one under, because it's going to continue to rise. This actually opened at 245.5 and is up to 262.5, Steve.
As far as the side of the total is concerned, KC is currently favored by a 0.55% of the cash, and 57% of the tickets are on KC. Then let's go money line, minus 118 KC, minus 102 for Philly. 64% of money's on KC, 51% of the tickets on Philly. And then the total currently sit down to 48.5 when as high as 50. 65% of the money is on the over. 74% of the tickets are on the over. So yeah, we're going to be needing Philly, it looks like, come Super Bowl Sunday. We have a big futures need on the Eagles too for the Super Bowl market. The Eagles are a very large win force, and KC is a very, very, very small loser. So go Birds.
Yeah, this is a really interesting prop here for most receiving yards in the playoffs. Do you know who the leader is by any chance?
I would not have known had I not seen the cheat sheet from your notes. Yeah, I was shocked by this, actually.
Yeah, Diami Brown. Of course, Diami Brown is the leader. Why wouldn't he? He's got 229 yards. I'm going to take Dallas Goedert to end the playoffs with the most receiving yards. So Dallas Goedert's at 188. So when we do the math, he only needs 41 yards to pass Brown. But what's interesting, his over-under for this game is 52.5. So he only needs, 41 to get to this total, but his over-under is 52.5. The other, suspects that could get there is Travis Kelce. He needs 94 yards. But he had a pretty bad game last week. And A.J. Brown needs 110 yards. Him and Jalen Hurts haven't really been going and clicking. So I think this Dallas Goedert at minus 125 is a pretty solid play. I think Goddard's going to be involved pretty heavily in the pass attack. He's been Jalen Hurts' most reliable target moving in the playoffs. And I think the Chiefs are really going to focus on Saquon Barkley. So I like Goddard to go over his receiving yards. And if he gets to this 52.5, he flies by Diami Brown. And now Kelce and Brown need huge days to get there. So I think there's a pretty solid play on Dallas Goedert to lead the NFL playoffs in receiving yards. Now let's go to a guy that has not been putting up a lot of stats. That's Gradey Dick, and we'll take his under. I had this at 20.5. I see some books have 21.5. So if you're going to tail this play, obviously take the under 21.5. Steve, he's gone under in 16 out of 20 games, 8 out of the last 10. And, it's interesting. RJ Barrett appears to be out. Pirtle seems to be out. But even with those guys out of the lineup, his stats have really suffered. Last 3 games without RJ Barrett, he's gone under. Last 2 games without Jakob Pirtle, he's gone under. And he's played Oklahoma City in December, and he only had 16 points, rebounds, and assists in that one. As you know, Steve, Oklahoma City, probably the best defense in the NBA. This is a Toronto team that's going nowhere. They traded for Brandon Ingram. I saw what is going on there. This doesn't seem like a team with a plan. And Gradey Dick has just not been filling up the stat sheet. So I like his under points, rebounds, and assists. You could also look at his under 3-pointers, but I'll be sticking at his under PRA tonight. Yeah, let's take 2 fights to not go the distance. I think someone's getting knocked out or choked out in both of these. We'll start with Justin Tafa and Taliesin Teixeira. Both these guys are strikers. You will not see much wrestling in this one. These guys are heavyweights, Steve. And Taliesin Teixeira is undefeated. He's coming off a Contender Series win. He's been fighting nothing but tomato cans, and he's been getting away with not having very good striking defense. Like, he gets hit a lot, but he also hits really, really hard. And the other guy that hits really hard is Justin Tafa. These guys are going to stand in the middle of the octagon. They're going to throw a lot, and someone's going to sleep. The UFC knows what they're doing when they put Justin Tafa on a main event card. They put him there because it's exciting. So these 2 heavyweights, someone's going to sleep. I like this one to not go the distance. And then we've got Jimmy Crute and Rodolfo Bellato. Bellato has horrific striking defense. He got knocked down by Ihor Potieria, who's one of the worst UFC fighters around. And then he's fighting Jimmy Crute. Steve, this is a guy that retired from the UFC almost 2 years ago and then decided to come back. And he was like, I think I'm too good to not be in the UFC. So I'm going to come back. And then I was like, okay, well, now I got red flags. And he's like, no, I'm in a great space. I found God. I probably won't bring a Bible to the octagon. And I was like, okay, I'm totally out on this guy. He had bad cardio when he was in UFC. I can't imagine his cardio has gotten much better since he retired and decided to come back. This screams someone's going to sleep or getting choked out, because I think Jimmy Crute has one round of cardio and then it falls off a cliff. So let's take both of these fights to not go the distance. If you have some of the alt lines, you could take both fights under 2.5 rounds. That gets you down to -120. But look for fireworks in both of these fights.